Hello, good evening, welcome, and here we are for our May pack for house wine. Hope you guys are well. Sorry it's been a little while since we've seen you. Sorry, this is making the old camera wobble, you have to bear with me. As you can see behind us, we're having a bit of a muck around. We've been operating outside for the last few weeks or so through the cold, the wet, the wind, the rain. So we can't wait to be back inside next week, fingers crossed. We've got a really cool lineup for May for house wine. We've got a Spanish white near Barcelona. We've got a Falanghina, which is white grape from Italy. We've got a sort of Côte d'Or style wine from the south of France, and we've also got a Primitivo, lovely kind of soft little red from the south of Italy. So we're keeping everything in Europe again for you. First up, we have what's called a Parallada. That's the name of the grape variety. My pronunciation is pretty awful. It's a very kind of light but very intense white wine from Albert and Marione, and they make wine in a little spot called the Conca de Barberà, which is based just southwest of Barcelona. Everything's supernatural, very, very low sulfur dioxide, and these wines are bright, fresh, really, really show off the grape variety and the region as well. You really kind of get a sense that this is a nice kind of warm region, but also there's a real kind of freshness to it as well, which you get from the sort of high altitude aspect of where these grapes are grown. So Albert and Marione, they work with a collection of different wine growers. They are all organic. They make their wines very, very naturally, so minimum kind of low intervention. This wine is made in stainless steel, so nice, super, super fresh. This particular area is really well known for making Cava, and this is certainly not sort of in that kind of crappy kind of Cava style. It's really, really characterful. Produced sort of 500 to 700 metres above sea level, so you get a real nice sort of cooling aspect from that higher altitude. The vines are between sort of 40 to 60 years old. So I might have mentioned to you guys before, the older the vines get, the less fruit the vine produces, but the better quality and the more kind of intense the fruit tends to be. So about 12 hours worth of skin contact as well. So it's not an orange wine, it's not a skin contact white wine. It's just got a little bit more kind of character to it than you'd normally expect from a fresh kind of white wine. Loads of kind of citrus fruit, and it's got an interesting sort of, I don't know how else to kind of describe it really, like a mineral kind of character. Yeah, it's pretty amazing stuff, and it's been probably one of my favourites that we've had on tap house wine for the last few months or so. Next up, we have what's called a Falanghina, and that's the name of the grape variety. This is from produced in Naples. Falangino is a really old indigenous grape variety from Italy. It can taste and smell very different depending on where you grow it. A little bit like some Chardonnay, I guess, in a way, depending on the warmth, the region, the climate, the geology. It can give you a very kind of different style. This is lovely, fresh, very kind of sort of peachy, apricotty, with a bit of citrus as well. And this is made by the producer that have been making wines for a long time. These are essentially kind of like volcanic wines. They're produced, all the vines are on these old kind of lovely sleeping volcanoes near Naples. Yeah, this particular wine have been making wines for like over 100 years or so, and it is sort of like an atypical sort of old traditional style Italian wine. I think it's absolutely delicious. Next up, we have a red from a producer called Mas de Cabres, and they're based in a little kind of spot called the Cevennes, which is just sort of inland from the Mediterranean down in the south of France. We've got quite a lot of wines coming from the south of France, mainly because they're flipping brilliant. We love the wines, mainly from like northern Spain going into southern France. It's an amazing spot for making wine. It's just perfect for ripening grapes. And this is a blend predominantly of Syrah, or Shiraz, and Grenache. So in essence, if you like Côte d'Or, like a red Côte d'Or, this is going to be right up your street. It's made by the Boutin family. Fourth generations, they've been making wine within the family for over 100 years or so, and they've been farming this spot in the Cevennes since the early 1700s, not just with grapes, but with other crops too. And the plot here is everything's kind of organic, and it's grazed with goats. So goats in this kind of neck of the woods tend to do a little bit of green pruning, which helps to kind of get rid of the sort of little initial kind of little shoots, and it means that you kind of get better quality fruit after the little goats have kind of nibbled at the vines. Nice limestone, red clay and marl, which gives wines which have got a real kind of like earthy kind of mineral kind of character to it. Two kind of sort of minerally wines with this evening. But it just sort of screams like southern France. It's got that kind of like depth and kind of warmth to it. I just think it's again like probably one of my favourite reds we've had so far. Last but not least, we have what's called a Primitivo, which is again an old indigenous grape from Italy. Primitivo, otherwise known as Zinfandel. So you find Zinfandel planted in the States, all over the place, predominantly in California. It makes that sweet pink style Zinfandel blush wine that you tend to find coming out of the States. One of the biggest wines that you find in the UK by a country mile. It also makes these lovely, rich, round, heavy reds too. Primitivo is the name, not Zinfandel, but the grape originally came from Puglia, which is a spot right down on the heel of Italy, and this is made by the Vedervata family. 3 generations, been making wines for over 100 years or so. And an interesting one about Primitivo is you guys over in Solihull, you consume more Primitivo than anywhere else in the whole of the country. It's really, really popular in the Midlands. If you go down to your local Tesco, you tend to find 2 or 3 on the shelf, which is quite unique really for the Midlands. Soft, spicy plums is probably the best way of describing this wine, and it's just great, lovely stuff. Really, really easy drinking, and have it with bangers and mash. It's probably not the right time of the year for bangers and mash, but it goes great with bangers and mash. So there we are. Really looking forward to having you guys with us in-house in Digworth when you can, and until next time.